Dariusz Michalczewski. And this fight is underway from Oberhausen, Germany. Teddy Atlas, as you look at this, neither one of these fighters is a blazing starter. You would imagine it would be somewhat of a cautious first round, would you not?
Yeah, you want to look for both of them to try to establish tempo. Michalczewski, of course, is going to try to take the jab away from Hill and get inside. Hill is going to use his legs like he always does and try to dictate pace and look for real good counter opportunities.
Virgil Hill, a fighter that has a strong jab and is not a fighter that goes away from it. A lot of guys start with a jab, do it pretty well the first couple rounds. Virgil stays with it throughout the entire fight.
That's what you're taught from the beginning as your most important punch. But in this case, there's even more of a reason. Virgil Hill is a converted southpaw. The left side is the strongest side for him.
He writes left-handed. He does everything left-handed. And again, a couple good examples of that very stiff left jab by Virgil Hill.
So far, Hill's getting what he wants. He's able to move. He's able to use the ring. And I'm sure he's glad his promoter, Cedric Kushner, came here earlier this morning and made sure the ring was a little bigger.
Oh, there's a good solid right hand by Virgil after throwing the left. Yeah, a bit of a controversy. This was originally an 18-foot ring. Virgil Hill said, no way am I fighting Michalczewski in a ring that small. They had to send out for another one. They're now in a 20-footer. Good work to the body by Michalczewski. A counterpunch by Hill.
That's just where Michalczewski wants to be. He wants to be inside, not on the outside. Hill is not a good inside fighter.
A good jab that time by the German fighter. Another good right counterpunch by Virgil Hill. Virgil Hill in the black trunks, Michalczewski in the yellowish, goldish trunks. Oh, a good digging left to the body by Hill. Oh, and another good combination. The best punch, a short right cross to the chin.
And of course it was set up because the left hand was landing. When the left hand lands, the right hand can follow.
Well, it has been Michalczewski who's been moving forward most of this first round, but it's been Virgil Hill who's been landing the best punches.
You only get credit if you're effective while you're aggressive, and he has not been as effective as Virgil Hill has been on the outside.
Virgil Hill, a fighter all his career, very comfortable fighting, moving backwards, an outstanding counterpuncher. He's demonstrated it here in the first round. Stay with us. This is into the first round. We'll be back to Germany in a minute.
Up the right hand is for Virgil Hill.
Start of the second round from Oberhausen, Germany. This fight is scheduled for 12 rounds for the WBA and the IBF titles that are held by Virgil Hill. Virgil Hill hasn't fought since November, and that was against Henry Mosca in Munich. Michalczewski has not fought since December. So the first fight for both of these guys in '97.
One thing that Michalczewski is not doing, he's not cutting the ring down. And Hill is moving primarily to Michalczewski's right. So what Michalczewski should do is move over to the right, throw a right hand, and force him to move the other way, maybe into a left hook. Set the guy up. He's allowing him to move the way he wants to.
And of course, movement is something Virgil Hill does very well.
That's why he pulled out of the first fight on April 19th. His leg wasn't right. He wasn't going to go in there with bum wheels.
Yeah, rather sheepishly admitted to us yesterday that he injured his foot playing basketball. He said, I should know better, but I heard it anyway. Oh, a good stiff pair of jabs by Virgil Hill. Excellent combination.
Hill wants to stay off.
Oh, solid right hand by Michalczewski landed. And another left.
He shouldn't be near the ropes.
And Michalczewski throwing his best punches of the fight so far.
And that's the way you take the jab away, damn. Counter right hands or your own jab. You land enough of those counter right hands, the guy gets a little tentative.
Michalczewski got another good jab between Hill's gloves. The crowd reacted, but that one mostly hit the glove of Virgil Hill.
This is a good round so far from Michalczewski, the bigger puncher, and he's getting distance where he can start to land some of those punches. And if you're in his corner, one promising thing going into this fight is Hill was on the floor in one of his fights against Louis the Valley, and that hadn't happened to him before.
That fight was in April of 1996, 2 fights ago for Virgil Hill.
When you're talking about a 33-year-old guy, you're saying, hey, maybe things are starting to catch up to him a little bit.
Well, while his punches are landing, they don't seem to have a whole lot of snap, especially here in the second round. Another good counterpunch that time by Michalczewski.
And then, although Hill's holding his own, he's fighting Michalczewski's fight right now, which is not good as the long term.
A good round number 2 for Dariusz Michalczewski.
Morning after morning, nothing's quite as much fun as choosing which.
Here's the beginning of round number 3. Virgil Hill making the 22nd title defense of his WBA crown. He's had 20 successful defenses, 3rd most in boxing history. A very prolific career for Virgil Hill in that 43-1 record.
We had a warning for a low blow there from Virgil Hill, but he's not a guy you'd expect too much of that from.
See Hill quick to apologize. A good snapping jab by Michalczewski.
That's what you want to do against the jab, but use your jab. Take his away or counter right hands to make him a little bit leery.
A reminder that next Saturday, the ABC's Wide World of Sports will have the Summer X Games, a special time, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific. The Summer X Games will be coming from San Diego. Will it have events like street luge, bicycle stunt, street event, and the sky surfing competition. A special time next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Man, this is the 3rd straight undefeated fighter that Hill has had to fight. You wonder if it's going to start to wear him down a little bit.
Well, and the 2nd in a row that he's had to fight in Germany, and Virgil acknowledges that this is where he has to go to get the payday. He can't make this kind of money fighting in America.
And a little adjustment for Hill. His last 2 fights have been against Southpaw.
I'm sure a welcome adjustment.
Maybe not. The way Michalczewski's fighting, I'm not so sure it's welcome.
There was a series where Virgil's jab is pretty ineffective. Not thrown with much behind it. And again, it's Michalczewski's jab that is becoming the story of this fight.
His last 2 fights, Hill had to deal with counterpunches with guys who were cute. This time he's got to deal with raw strength. A little different when you're 33.
Kind of shot over the top of Hill, and Virgil Hill not happy that Michalczewski landed a couple punches in the clinch.
One problem I noticed with Hill, he's throwing a 3/4 jab. He's allowing Michalczewski to get into punching room. He should extend that jab from further out.
Another solid round put together here by Dariusz Michalczewski. This is the end of the 3rd.
It's 3rd and long. Clearly, they're thinking pass.
There's that jab that Michalczewski's using, and that's the way you take the jab away from a jabber.
Well, Virgil Hill comes out a little more aggressively here in the beginning of the 4th round. A whole lot more energy, at least in the opening seconds. We'll see if he can carry it for the balance of the round. Dariusz Michalczewski didn't turn pro until he was 23 years old, but he still had 33 33 professional fights in only 6 years. Well, there was a low blow by Michalczewski. But he's been busy.
The only way the body punching is you're going to amount to a lot is if he keeps it up. You can't do it in spots. It's kind of like putting money in the bank. It pays off. It pays off in the course of time.
We'd like to alert our ABC stations that at the conclusion of this round, we'll be taking a station break.
So far, the pace of the fight, you'd have to be happy if you're in Michalczewski's corner. It's a fast pace, which you want for the younger guy opposed to the older guy. And a pace where he's been able to get close.
There was a good right hand by Dariusz Michalczewski. And wouldn't you know, I open up the fight talking about Virgil and how well he stays with that jab all 12 rounds, and now he's gone away from it.
That time inside, Virgil Hill got a little bit of a freebie. Michalczewski got inside, but he did not punch. He's got to punch when he gets inside if he wants to take full advantage of these opportunities.
There is Mike Hall, Virgil Hill's trainer. Been with Virgil for years, and he's doing a little Jerry Tarkanian there, chewing on the towel.
Well, he's getting ready to do some cut work because Virgil Hill's cut over his left eye, which was open in his last fight with Henry Mansky, has been open now. He's gonna have to get that adrenaline ready. That's what's allowed in the corner.
We asked Virgil if that cut had been a problem in training or anything, and he said absolutely not.
Well, who says fighters tell the truth?
Well, that's exactly right. Although in the Maska fight, it really wasn't that big of a problem. We'll be back with more action between Virgil Hill and Dariusz Michalczewski after a word from our ABC station. See if we can see where the cut happened.
I believe he was already bleeding, Dan, to be quite honest with you. It already was occurred already.
It's a cut that is not bleeding a great deal. Of course, it's in a spot that we're going to have to watch closely because it's above the eye and certainly could create some vision problems, A, if it swells, or B, if it leaks down into the eye itself.
The good news is that you have a guy who's a veteran in there who does not panic with things like this. He's been fighting professionally for 13 years.
And Mike Hall is an outstanding cut man working Virgil's corner.
Yes, he is. And he doesn't panic either.
And I think that's an excellent point you make, Teddy, about not panicking. It's one of the virtues of being a veteran.
One of the advantages Michalczewski has going in here, it's not experience, but it's that O on the end of his record. Undefeated fighters carry a very important quality. They don't believe they can be beat. It's very hard to measure how important that is.
Well, certainly a world-class leap in competition for Michalczewski. He's never been in the ring with anyone the talent of Virgil Hill. He gave Virgil a little present there, a little chopping right hand to the head.
He's landing that right hand, which is what you want to do against a good jab, but take that jab away. But the reason he's landing is Virgil Hill's letting him get close.
Hill's jab is no longer a threat. It's not keeping Michalczewski away.
No, it's not long enough. It's 3/4 and even halfway, and that's not good enough. That means Michalczewski is in distance to land his right hand.
Oh, a solid jab by Michalczewski.
This keeps going like this, I can see it being an interesting decision, even controversial, because Hill's throwing more punches, but Michalczewski is landing the harder, more effective punches. Who do the judges favor?
I mean, there was a flurry of punches by Virgil Hill, but none of them had much in the way of snap to them at all.
One of the problems in judging, quite honestly, in boxing, it's too subjective. Some guys who like one thing, some guys who like the harder punches.
Hill complaining about getting hit in the back of the head and ate a Michalczewski left hand when he wasn't paying attention. Another right connects. Right now, Virgil Hill looking a little disoriented.
Michalczewski is definitely controlling this fight right now, mentally and physically.
Well, Dariusz Michalczewski, who has asserted himself in this fight, now puts together the best series he's had yet. Oh, and a low blow by Virgil Hill. Another low blow. He's taking a point away. John Coyle, the referee, taking a point away from Virgil Hill, and that could very well and probably will make this a 10-8 round for Michalczewski.
That's a big point because Hill was losing his round.
Yep, he was. The end of the fifth.
Some of the most...
Well, here you have a right hand that's really on the verge of being a rapid punch, and that's the worst foul there is.
This is the start of the 6th round, and Virgil Hill is going to have to switch gears and start fighting a much better fighter. He's in big trouble here in Oberhausen, Germany. I'm Dan Deerdorf, along with Teddy Atlas, ringside, and Virgil Hill, up to this point, being handled by Dariusz Michalczewski. Michalczewski in the gold shorts, Hill in the black.
One thing, Dan, about making your living as a counterpuncher and as a jabber, when a guy can get past that, what do you do then? Then you have problems, because the reason why you fought on the outside, because you're not as good on the inside, and you're not as strong.
Well, Hill allowing Michalczewski to get inside, and he's paid a price for it. Oh, another good left hand by Michalczewski. Teddy, on my scorecard, I gave Virgil Hill the 1st round, but since then it's been all Michalczewski with a 10-8 round there in round number 5.
Well, I have one even round in the 3rd round, and then the rest of the rounds, as you'd say, I had to give to Michalczewski. I have Michalczewski in a very close fight, winning 48-47.
Virgil Hill just not effective in keeping Dariusz Michalczewski off of him. He made Michalczewski eat his jab the entire 1st round, and he hasn't given it back since. Oh, a good right hand to the body by Hill.
You adhere to the professional scoring, which is the harder, more effective punches. Michalczewski is leading in that area, no doubt, and he's getting better. And that would make you worry about his hopes, because Hill has never been a big puncher. He's been a guy who's dependent on the smaller punches, the jabs, and the counter left hook.
Well, 2 fighters here that Michalczewski undefeated at 33-0. Virgil Hill only 1 loss in his career. That's to Tommy Hearns, and that was a 12-round decision.
And then even in that fight, the great fight of Tommy Hearns used the jab. It was a boxing fight. It wasn't a fight where he was being dominated like he's being dominated here physically.
Well, that Tommy Hearns fight was also in 1991, 6 years ago.
There's been a few miles put on
Hill's odometer. Oh, another good right hand by Michalczewski. This fight scheduled for a dozen. Getting close to the end of the 6th round here from Oberhausen, Germany. Boxing on ABC's Wide World of Sports will continue. Stay with us, folks. Beginning of round number 7 here on our Valvoline Professional Boxing Series. The WBA and the IBF light heavyweight titles of Virgil Hill are on the line, and right now very much in jeopardy. By the way, even though this fight is in Germany and Michalczewski, a German citizen, our 3 judges, if this goes to their cards, are from England, Panama, and Puerto Rico. So no home country judge for Michalczewski, or for that matter, for Virgil Hill.
Dan, you can see anytime Hill gets near the ropes, he has problems. There's nowhere to go. Michalczewski is able to walk in and trap him.
A reminder that tomorrow we'll have IROC coverage at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central and Pacific. The International Race of Champions. A dozen identical cars. It's the second of their 4 races from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll have guys like Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Robbie Gordon from NASCAR, Al Unser, Jimmy Vassar from Carton, Tom Kendall from Road Racing. All this tomorrow. International Race of Champions on ABC.
Virgil Hill just missed with his counter left hook, which in my estimation is his best punch. Whenever he scored knockouts, he's had 20 in his career, 44 fights. It's usually been from that punch. And you know what? As this fight goes on, he might need it.
The cut, Teddy. fill me in on what you think about the severity of Virgil Hill's cut. It doesn't seem to be getting in his way.
No, it hasn't been affecting him. He's a veteran. That has a lot to do with it. It hasn't been obstructing his vision in any way.
No, it doesn't seem to be ballooning or swelling a great deal.
No, like you said earlier, they have good guys in the corner, veteran guys. Mike Hall's doing a good job with that. That is not part of the fight right now. But where it can help, it can obviously help the less experienced Michalczewski get confidence.
Well, that was a good right hand by Michalczewski. Right on that eye. And it may have opened it up a little more. Virgil Hill, no jab at all, keeping Michalczewski out of there.
Again, he's allowing him to get in too close. By the time he jabs, it's a dangerous punch for Hill because he's allowing Michalczewski to be in punching distance.
I don't know how often in his career Virgil Hill has ever taken this many big shots.
And by fighting in close quarters, Michalczewski is taking the greatest asset of Hill away, his legs.
And now that left eye of Hill's is starting to swell a little bit underneath the eye. And that's not because of the cut, I don't think. It's because of those right hands he's eating from Dariusz Michalczewski. Virgil Hill has to find himself. Does he have enough gas in the tank? This hour in the round 7.
Here you can see Michalczewski again using that jab to set up the right hand. Right on that cut where Hill does not want him. Hill's going to either have to move his head or use that jab from a further distance, not allow Michalczewski so close.
Well, here we go now into the 8th round. Virgil Hill, Dariusz Michalczewski, and Virgil Hill, one of the really nice guys in boxing. We've had a lot of fun over the years going to Bismarck, the great scene there in North Dakota where Virgil Hill fights in front of 8,000 plus rabid fans. But for the first time in his career, Virgil Hill is actually starting to look his age.
And from a defensive standpoint, Virgil obviously is having problems. There's 3 basic lines of defense in boxing. Being able to move your head and slip a punch, being able to block a punch and using your legs. Hill uses the 3rd line, legs. That's not working for him tonight at 33 years of age. That's why he's having problems.
Virgil Hill offers up 3 little pushing away jabs. Didn't move Michalczewski 1 inch and then ate a big right hand.
You would say that Hill needs to move his head, but you know what? At this point in his career, he ain't going to learn that now.
It has been a while since Virgil Hill has landed a punch that really affected Dariusz Michalczewski.
Well, anybody who thought that this fight might turn out to be a stinker with Hill getting his way and grabbing and moving, they were sure wrong. If anything, this has been a great fight. It's an exciting fight. It's just that it's been Michalczewski's fight.
But the trademark of Hill's career, Teddy, his great legs, his great movement, they've abandoned him today.
One problem, Dan, with depending on that is when you do get older, you have to have something to fall back on.
Right hand over the top.
No better example than Ali. Ali had the greatest legs of all time. When he couldn't use them anymore, he started to accumulate damage.
Well, you mentioned how important it is to a fighter when he's undefeated. That's 0 on the back end of his record. And to give Michalczewski credit, he is fighting with the confidence of an undefeated fighter. And I think right now it's safe to say, Teddy, he senses that this is his fight to win.
Yes, and then you mix in with his home crowd, only pulling him on. You have a dangerous situation for Virgil Hill. This fight is progressing to where pretty soon Hill's going to need a knockout or a knockdown to bring this fight close.
4 rounds to go when the 8th is completed. And I think you're right on. The end of round number 8 from Oberhausen, Germany. Beginning of round number 9. Alongside Teddy Atlas, I'm Dan Eerdorf here at ringside for ABC's Wide World of Sports. And Teddy, right now, Virgil Hill is facing a real crossroads in his career.
This is the crossroads right here, this round. I have it 78 to 75 for Michalczewski. So he's going to do something. He has to do it right now. He's running out of room. And his corner, to their credit, Mike Hill, Hall in his corner, he's telling him. He's giving a little urgency there. He's saying, listen, Virgil, we got to get going. In no way he's like some other corners where they're not giving him the truth.
Well, one thing about Virgil Hill, he's as smart as any guy who's ever been in the ring. He knows where he is. He knows where he stands in this fight. I don't think he needs to have it explained to him. Whether he can do anything about it or not remains to be seen.
You're right, but it helps when a corner tells you the truth. A lot of corners, they're worried about their jobs, they're worried about staying friends with the fighter, and sometimes they're not quite that honest.
We've heard a few strange things in corners over the years.
I'm not trying to set a case for myself.
None of them from you, I might add. We've heard colorful language from your corner, Teddy, but always a lot of wisdom.
Only in spots.
Well, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2, live from Foxwoods in Connecticut, a 12-round cruiserweight title fight between Don Diego Puder with an 18-0 record with 14 knockouts against Terry Ray, 33-4-0 with 20 knockouts. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2.
Dan, one thing in favor of Hill that I see, even though I have it as Michalczewski's fight, he's not taking full advantage of really stepping it up, even though he landed those jabs there. When he's inside, he's allowing Hill to get a free ride.
Michalczewski just radiating confidence, going right in, stinging Hill with a couple left hands, not backing up at all. Whatever Virgil is offering up, Michalczewski takes it and keeps coming forward.
Well, you got to give Hill credit. He's showing all the heart. He's not wilting at all as far as trying. I guess that's why he's been champion 2 times. You know, Michalczewski has fought very inconsistent in this round. He's allowed Hill to have a decent round here.
Dariusz Michalczewski right now putting a pretty good eye on the 2 belts owned by Virgil Hill, thinking, I got a chance. Number 10 gets started. Referee John Coyle lets the guys begin in the middle of the ring, and a very familiar position, Teddy. It's already Virgil Hill being backed up by Michalczewski.
You know, 2 fights ago against Louis DeValley, Hill was on the floor. I wonder if that was a little bit of sign of things to come.
Boy, look at his head snap back there. That was a slip by Michalczewski. Virgil Hill ate a very stiff left hand just prior to that.
The funny thing now, I have him behind going into the last 3 rounds. I have him behind by 3 points. Hill is going to have to change character. The jab's not going to be good enough. The legs aren't going to be good enough. He's going to have to land big punches. And that's something that is out of character for Virgil Hill throughout his career.
Virgil, 20 knockouts in his 44 professional fights. Ooh, another stiff left by Michalczewski. And Virgil Hill, to go for that knockout, Teddy, he's going to have to take a chance. And right now, he is just eating that left hand of Dariusz Michalczewski.
Either he's going to have to take a chance, Dan, or Michalczewski's going to have to make a big mistake. Like reach in with the right hand and leave himself open for a counter left hook.
I don't think Virgil Hill has ever eaten this many heavy punches in a single fight. He's gone years without eating this many big punches.
Right here, Michalczewski's giving a free ride to Hill. He's winning the fight, don't get me wrong, but Hill's going downhill. Why not push him a little more and punch inside?
Well, maybe you have to ask the question, maybe Michalczewski doesn't have the strongest punch in the world. Keep in mind, you know, he's got 25 knockouts in his 33 fights, but maybe he's not exactly got stones in his gloves either.
He's not a Foreman puncher, but he's the better puncher in this fight.
Sorry, Teddy, another low blow by Virgil Hill.
You know, Dan, as long as this is the second foul of the fight, we should mention that Michalczewski has won 3 fights on disqualification.
That he has, and one of them was a blow that he received on the clinch. It wasn't a low blow, it was a shot to the head, and he could not continue in a fight against Graziano Rocchigiani, and he he couldn't continue and won on a technical decision.
But he will not win this fight on a low blow because it's in the rules that the title cannot change hands and cannot be won on a low blow. The guy will get rest, but the fight will be not taken away from him.
Now, Michalczewski looks a lot better in this fight than he did in that fight. He was behind on all 3 cards. Virgil Hill has 6 minutes left to try to right his ship here. It's the end of 10. Round 11 from Oberhausen, Germany. Virgil Hill in the black trunks. Dariusz Michalczewski 2 rounds away, apparently, from winning the title from Hill. If our scorecards are anywhere close to the 3 judges who count, it's been a pretty dominating effort by Dariusz Michalczewski. And in between rounds, Mike Hall, the trainer of Virgil Hill, railing at Hill, trying to get him to summon something up here that he can use the last 2 rounds.
Come on. Cross it. Oh, Jack got it. Let's try it. Yeah.
Virgil Hill pitter-pattering the body.
You know, a cornerman has to know his fighter. Mike Hall was not real tough on Hill. He told him, listen, they might steal. You got to pick it up. I think he knows he's behind, but he knows that Hill's the kind of temperament that you can't berate. Sometimes that works against the guy, so he's taking that avenue.
Well, and let's face it, Mike Hall is looking at the same Virgil Hill that we're looking at. I'm not sure how much is there for Virgil to summon. He hasn't had really good legs underneath him since the 2nd or the 3rd round.
It's been a terrific career, no matter what happens here. He's been one of the most consistent fighters over the last decade, both as a champion and as a fighter.
Virgil Hill beat Henry Mosca here at the end of last year, a national idol in Henry Mosca. If Dariusz Michalczewski should vanquish Hill, I would imagine his status here in his adopted homeland of Germany is really going to skyrocket.
Exactly. Boxing in Europe is huge. All they have is soccer and boxing. So obviously there's no NBA, there's no baseball, there's no Michael Jordan. So it's much, much bigger over here. Sponsorships, everything.
We're going to stay between rounds 11 and 12, so stick with us.
Big difference here for Virgil Hill than the Mansky fight. The Mansky fight, Mansky let him fight in spots because Mansky's a counterpuncher. Not here.
This is the end of the 11th round with 1 to go.
That's the way to work. Good work. That's why you the champ. Got one more like that? All right.
That's all we need is one more good one, Virgil.
Teddy, that was a better round for Virgil Hill.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he's shown all the experience, all the guile, all the guts, all the courage of a champion. He's not giving it up easy.
You gotta be moving them hands, all right? Make him work overtime. See if you can burn him up. That's the lead.
Fritz Stunek, the trainer for Dariusz Michalczewski. All right, Teddy, you're a trainer. You're in Virgil Hill's corner. Do you tell him that he has to get a knockout to win this fight? Do you go that far out on a limb?
Again, you have to know your man, Dan. This guy's an experienced guy. This guy has a temperament that maybe if you do that, it doesn't work as much. I think that definitely you have to have some urgency. You definitely have to tell him to let it hang out. And I think Mike Hall basically told him, let it hang out. Burn this guy up.
You and I certainly think that's the case, though, correct? A knockout is necessary for Hill to win.
I believe that, but one thing you got to remember, the people at home are going to take for granted, hey, Michalczewski's at home. He's going to get the decision, right? Hey, no, don't work like that in boxing.
Right.
The promoter of Virgil Hill is Cedric Kushner, a very strong guy with the WBA and IBF.
Again, our three judges are from England, Panama, and Puerto Rico. This fight for Virgil Hill's two titles. The light heavyweight title from both the WBA and the IBF. Dariusz Michalczewski is the WBO light heavyweight champion. And he would add to that with a victory today over Virgil Hill. His WBO title is not on the line. If Hill were to win, he doesn't win that WBO title. It's kind of complicated. If Michalczewski were to lose, he loses the WBO title.
One interesting thing here today, maybe it's because of Hill's age, but Hill's been moving one way, and Michalczewski has not cut the ring down well, yet Michalczewski has still been effective. Maybe it's because Hill's 33 and he doesn't use his legs well anymore, because normally he should have been able to get away with more than he got away with the other guy not cutting the ring down.
It has been a brilliant career. Certainly we're not intimating that it's over. But at this stage of the fight, Virgil Hill's only been in this situation one time before, in that loss against Tommy Hearns, where he lost a unanimous decision. And with 1 minute to go, it looks like this is going to go to the scorecards. And again, he'll have to see how it works out.
Fight for Hill was not a setup for this fight. They were against counterpunches, not against aggressive, strong guys.
I think I've got a pretty good handle on the scoring of this fight, Teddy, but I have been wrong before, often.
Hill was hurt a moment ago when a left hook on top of the head at robbery, and it probably gave the round to Michalczewski.
Well, it's getting a little sloppy here at the end of the 12th round. There is another good right hand by Michalczewski. We will be back for the decision. And an interesting one it'll be. There's the bell. Let's go up to ringside now, and ring announcer Heiner Lauterbach.
Für Dariusz Michalczewski 117, für Virgil Hill 112.
He's saying Judge Rogelio Perez scores at 117-112 for Michalczewski.
Für Dariusz Michalczewski 116, für Virgil Hill.
Judge Samuel Condi scores it for Michalczewski 116-113.
Marcel Ralou für Dariusz Michalczewski.
Judge Marcel Ralou scores it for Michalczewski 118-110. He wins a unanimous decision over Virgil Hill. Dariusz Michalczewski is the new WBA IBF light heavyweight champion of the world.